We get to have some fun tonight in daily fantasy baseball because not only are there logical plays we can feel good about, we have some safety here, we've got some very logical plays, but also there are some risky ones, some things I like, a lot of stacks we can go through, some pitchers who are under salaried, may have good ceilings, but also some kind of risky floors. It is a fun slate if you like tournaments for today. So let's dive on in and get you set for the main slate. Welcome on in to the FanDuel Live Q&A. That is right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberfire.com, here to take your questions live on air for the next half an hour to get you set for tonight's slate of daily fantasy baseball. As always, no matter where you are watching, get your questions in. We'll take them via YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter to get you set for tonight's slate of MLB DFS. This is the only day of the week we have the MLB DFS Q&A at 4 p.m. We are 4:30 on Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow we have the Thursday night football preview. Brandon Gadula is going to break out his simulations and let you know where he is looking for player props and stuff, and single game DFS for tomorrow. For the Texans and the Panthers, that will be a thriller for sure. That is with Brandon tomorrow at 4, all of MLB at 4:30. And then, of course, our snake draft, myself, Brandon, and JJ Zacharyson. That is on Friday at 4 p.m. with MLB to follow. So make sure you are subscribed wherever you're watching, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, does not matter. Hit that subscribe button and swing back here once again tomorrow as well. So here on the FanDuel YouTube page, we have Girls Who Bet coming up tonight. That is with Aaron K. Dolan, Olivia Moody, and also Ariel Epstein swinging by tonight. That is at 8:30 p.m. on the FanDuel YouTube page. So just hit that subscribe button and tune in at 8:30 for tonight. Let's start the questions off over on YouTube by talking to Salvatore. Hello, Salvatore, saying there's a lot of wind for that Twins versus the Cubs game. Yes, indeed, there is. Let's go over here to check out what Dark Sky Weather has to say for today. 22. Whoa, that's not right. That can't be right. Did it flip? That can't be right. There's no way. There's no way that's right. What in the world? Okay, so this has the wind blowing out. I don't agree. I don't think that's accurate. If I go over to the forecast via Kevin Roth this morning, he also had the winds blowing in from left at 25 to 30 miles per hour. My guess is that something got jacked up over on Dark Sky Weather and the wind is not actually blowing out. This still hasn't, I think this is automated. This has the wind blowing in at 23 miles per hour. So I would ignore what this page says. If Kevin comes on and says, hey, the wind flipped, then we should react and be in on the Twins. But with the total in that game still at 7, I'm guessing we're getting the nasty, nasty wins in Chicago for today. Let me just pull up FanDuel Sportsbook here quick to make sure. Yeah, it's still 7. So I'm pretty sure we're good to go. Yeah, I think the wind is still in. So if we assume that Kevin was right this morning, which I think he was, the wind is blowing in at 22 miles per hour. That is a massive, 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 massive downgrade to hitters for the Twins and the Cubs. They did score some runs last night, despite the fact the wind was blowing in. Nick Gordon had a home run. But this is different. This is a different beast. So no Twins for me, no Cubs for me. You could potentially go, maybe take a run at like Kyle Hendricks, but like just not enough strikeouts for me. He's been pitching pretty rough recently. So I would say it's a stay away situation on both sides. Disregard the Twins, disregard the Cubs. I don't want to go to either pitcher either. So to me, it is a full stay away. Let's talk to Brad. You think pay up for pitcher or hitters? I think you can do either, Brad. I would say it's really easy to justify going all in on Zach Wheeler for tonight. Wheeler is facing the Orioles, 3.21 skill interactive ERA over his past 8 starts. With fewer sliders, 28% strikeout rate, 26% hard hit rate. Zach Wheeler is a robot. That's a good thing. Facing an Orioles team that we're not super scared of versus righties. I respect them a lot, but they're losing a DH, facing a righty. I think that for me, Zach Wheeler is kind of the no-brainer on this slate. I will say, though, Brad, we have flexibility to go with some lower salaried pitchers. Specifically, I think both Ian Anderson and Corey Kluber are guys you can turn to for today. Anderson is, both these guys are coming off injuries. They are 4 starts since they came back. Anderson, his past 2 has been able to throw his curveball once again. should be no surprise that has led to a resurgence for him. That curveball is his whiff pitch. He's been leaning on it more the past 2 starts. 35% strikeout rate there. His pitch count 99 in his most recent start. So Anderson to me back on the menu. Kluber, I'm willing to use and will use. Not as sold on him as I am on Anderson because, he's facing the Rangers, which is good, but a lot of walks, a lot of hard contact. So between the two, I prefer Anderson. He's $8,000. You can definitely do that, Brad. So I would say either way. I'll probably have more Wheeler than I have Anderson and Kluber tonight, but I think that you can go either way with this one, Brad, for sure. William, do you like stacking Philadelphia and San Francisco? Yes to both. I know the Phillies have been rough recently. I follow a lot of Phillies fans on Twitter, and they've been frustrated. They've been pretty frustrated, safe to say, over the past couple of nights. So I think that it could be frustrating to go at them for sure, but I still think that everything lines up well. Facing Keegan Aiken, he's a lefty. I prefer the Phillies versus lefties because it increases Kutch's ISO, increases Segura, helps out Real Muto. So I think the Phillies definitely are in play for today. Giants are facing Vince Velasquez. Speaking of Philly, Velasquez still having the same issues he had towards the end of his time with Philadelphia. A lot of fly balls. Not enough strikeouts. So I would say the Giants and the Phillies are 2 of the top stacks for today. William, I like both a lot. Let's talk to Eric. Good question here from Eric. I saw that the $25,000 winner in GPP last night used a 2-2-2-1-1. Is it unusual to use mini stacks similar to that? Not unusual. And I think that if you look at tournament winning lineups, a lot of times you'll see stuff like that. The reason I skew towards the 4 and 3 player stacks is because the data says long-term, that is better. Again, I talk about this a lot, but Kenyatta Storin had a piece up on Number Fire before last year, I think, back in 2020, looking through average scores of teams based on what their stack combination was. And you see that teams that have 4-player stacks just grade out better. They have better ROIs. They have better average scores. So if you want to maximize your ROI long-term, you should go with 4-player stacks wherever you can. Try to be as concentrated as possible. That can obviously pay off on different slates. So we will see lineups that have, non-stacky lineups pay off. But long-term, Eric, I think that if you want to position yourself best for sustainable success, I do still think that stacking is the way to go. But good question. And that's exactly what you should be doing, Eric. Check out impressive lineups, check out lineups that do well, see what they do, and see if there are interesting things that stand out and ask those questions. I think that's the right way to approach things. But long term, we do want to be as stacky as possible. Let's talk to Kyle on YouTube. Dansby Swanson, Gio Urshela, or Luis Urias as a one-off for today. So we have Swanson facing Merrill Kelly. Don't mind that. Kelly, low strikeout guy, not the best batted ball data. You can definitely feel good about Atlanta there. Urshela is facing off with Taylor Hearn, gets a lefty. Urshela's been hitting the ball a lot better recently, so that's good for him. Luis Urias is facing Miles Nicholas. Nicholas has been getting better with the batted ball numbers since he's been able to use his slider more recently, his past 4 starts. So I love Urias in general, not going to be there for today. So to me, it's between Urshela and Swanson. I would say, Kyle, if you have a Yankee stack in there or a Brave stack, skew that direction. But if I'm just picking straight up, I feel better about the power numbers from Swanson than I do for Urshela. The roof is open at Chase Field for tonight. They announced that again on a website. It's closed tomorrow, but they announced the website ahead of time if the roof will be open or closed. You can find that by searching for Chase Field roof information. Open for today, 98 degrees in Phoenix. That's a good thing for stacks there. So I would say Swanson over Urshela if it's a one-off, but skew towards the stack if it is not a one-off. Urshela's in play, but if I'm just picking a one-off here, I think that I would go with Swanson. Let's talk to Rene over on YouTube. Thoughts on Joe Ryan projected for 36 points? If that's a number fire projection, I should hit them up because that's his pitch count's probably too high. Joe Ryan, in the 3 starts he has made 89, 85, and 67. 67 is because he got hit in the pitch or hit on the wrist with a pitch or a line drive. I thought he broke it, so it's good that he's starting. But I would say for me, Ryan's pitch count's probably not going to be that high. The matchup is great. Obviously, the weather is great. So I think that there are good things in favor of Joe Ryan. I just worry about the length for him. And yeah, so it's not via number fire, at least. They have Ryan at 21.8. So guessing that's somewhere else. I would check if they have the projected pitch count listed for Joe Ryan, I would check that because he's probably, for me, somewhere 85 to 90 pitches for tonight for the Twins. Let's talk to DJ. Cole Irvin thoughts? No, not enough strikeouts. Really, really low strikeout rate. This is over his past 8 starts with using more sinkers. 12% strikeout rate, the lowest in the slate. I think that DJ, the one thing I would say about Irvin is we can use batters against him. Super low strikeout rate, does let up hard contact. So I would say, looking at the Mariners guys, you've got Luis Torrens there, you've got Mitch Haniger, Ty France can work. Some of the other guys batting lower in the order. So I would say some one-offs or potentially a full stack in the Mariners against Irvin, more in play for me than using Cole Irvin as a pitcher for tonight. Let's talk to William. Could you build a Philadelphia San Francisco stack to see if it's similar to mine? We'll build them out separately because I don't want to give out like full lineups and stuff like that, because that gets into like, I don't know, I feel weird ethically about that. So let's just go through a Philly stack first and a Giant stack after that. Let's see if the Phillies lineup is in. Okay, it is in. We got Segura, Harper, Realmuto, McCutchen, Freddie Galvis batting 6th. Okay, I'll take that. No objections from me there. Pretty sure he's been good against both righties and lefties this year. But let's just check that out first before we get too excited about old Freddie. Against lefties, 216 ISO, sick. Sign me up. Let's put him in first. Why not? Freddie Galvis. Let's put him at second base for $2,400. Let's get Kutch in there. And I know it's a lefty, but let's put Harper in there too. And do we want Segura or do we want Realmuto? Realmuto 167 ISO. Segura's at 201. I feel better about Realmuto's overall power, but probably just want to go with Segura. So let's do that. Okay, we'll put him at third base. I tend to feel pretty good about shortstop. So let's do this here. Let's put Wheeler in there as a pitcher. And if we do that, we are at 27.25. That might be kind of tough. I think I can make that work still, but maybe you go down $100 to get to Realmuto there. But I think that if you're doing Phillies with Wheeler, Galvis is borderline must at that salary. Definitely a guy who I think he's good for one-offs. I think he's good for stacks. I want to get there. Matt Vierling, batting 8th in front of a pitcher, National League Park, doesn't have the best in minor league power numbers, so I'd be okay staying away from that one. So I think that for me, it's Segura, Harper, Realmuto, McCutchen, Galvis. Let's see if we can get anything out of Odubel or Didi. Odubel versus lefties, 128 ISO. Meh. Didi, 117. Meh. So yeah, I would say these 5 guys, the guys batting 2nd through 6th are the guys you want to focus on for a Philly stack. Let's build out a Giant stack here now with keeping Wheeler in a pitcher, because I know that we had a question from William. Could you build out or from Brad, building a lineup with Wheeler? So if we had that for the Phillies, let's check out what the Giants have. I know I'm going to want Lamont Wade in there because pretty low salary. I'm going to want Yastrzemski in there. Salary pretty good on him as well. Okay. I'm assuming their lineup's not in yet because it's West Coast game. Just refresh here to double check that. And nothing yet. Okay, good. Let's put La Stella in there too because I want to save some salary because we have Wheeler. Let's put La Stella at second base. Then you've got some flexibility. I'm probably going to try to get to check out some salaries here on Belt specifically. Okay. Belt is 39. That might be tough. Crawford 34. So let's go back over here. Check out how much we should be desiring Belt at that. He's amazing. So I want to get there. But I also know I got to be salary conscious with trying to jam in Harper, trying to jam in Wheeler and stuff like that. Okay, so Crawford's at 243 ISO versus righties. Belt's just disgusting. He's so good. Buster's at 181. I would say we're probably going Crawford here if we're building with Wheeler just to get the little bit extra salary savings. I prefer Crawford over Posey. I'll take the $100 hit there to get above. So I would say if you're going Wheeler, this might be the preferred stack on this Giants team. If you have Galvis in there, you could put La Stella at third base instead. But I think leaning on Wade, La Stella, Yastrzemski, totally fine with that in order to get the extra salary savings for Wheeler and to get to Harper if you're building out a Philly stack. Let's talk to Jerry on Facebook. So Wheeler is the top pitcher on the slate. Who is the best value guy you're looking at? I think to me it's Ian Anderson. He is $8,000. Again, I want to pull up his game log here because he's kind of a good example of why I look a lot at pitch mixes. So let's scroll down here to just his past 4 games since he came off the IL. And we'll go to his pitch mix and check out the curveball usage. So the first 2 starts, he wasn't using his curve. 14% usage on the pitch. Part of that could have been because he's at Coors Field, but he's also coming off an injury. So could have been a situation where he wasn't feeling the curveball yet, didn't have a grip for that pitch, didn't want to use it. He didn't do well in those first 2 games. But the past 2 starts, the curve usage is up to 28. Nope. 28%? Yeah, 28.7%. In those 2 starts, he has a 3.15 skill interactive ERA. Strikeout rate is 35%. Went 99 pitches in that most recent start. Swing and strike rate is 16.5%. He's been a beast. The results have been okay. They've been fine in that 2-start sample, but 16 strikeouts in 10 2/3 innings. You put him up against Arizona. I know the roof is open. That does downgrade him for sure, but I think he's good enough to take advantage of that matchup. So to me, Ian Anderson is a top value for today. I've got Kluber too. I think there's a decent gap between Anderson and Kluber. I still think Kluber is usable, and I will have him in my player pool, but I think that Anderson, the superior play. So Jerry, to me, Ian Anderson, the number 1 value pitcher on this slate. He's actually my number 2 overall behind Wheeler. If I'm not going to go to Wheeler, I think that skipping over Buehler at Coors, skipping over Sale with his weird pitch counts, skipping over Marquez at Coors, I think that's the way to go. So to me, it's Wheeler or bust, basically, on the top end. DJ, using Garcia as a pitcher, how do I stack the Yankees, Brewers, and Braves together? Garcia is a good pitcher. So I think that I can get behind that. The one downside with Garcia is he does not go deep in games. They've got him on a pretty strict pitch count, it seems like. As you can see here, he did go 6 2/3 there. But for the most part, doesn't tend to go deep in games, lowers the odds you get that quality start bonus. That's why I'm not as high on Wheeler, or Garcia, I should say, as I am on Anderson and Kluber. The good thing is Garcia's matchup's not bad, so you can justify him that way, but just explaining why I'm not as high on Garcia personally. Basically, the overall takeaway is here, you've got some salary flexibility. So if you don't have to worry about salary, stacking the Yankees, I would say we want Stanton. We want Judge. Let's check out the lineup here for the Yankees. Okay, let's get Voit in there. And Urshela batting 7th is actually pretty high. Gallo 5th has some power against lefties, though. So that's not too bad. Who's catching? Higashioka's got some pop against lefties, too. So I would say Higashioka's in play. Not as into Gleyber Torres. Let me check to make sure I'm not being too dismissive here of him. Yep, that's fine. So I would say probably Urshela or Higashioka. Urshela is $2,600. Higashioka is minimum salary. If you want to get to like Wheeler, I would say Higashioka is in play. Joey Gallo strikes out a lot against lefties, but I would still say, like DJ, let's say you're building out like a good number of Yankee stacks, make sure you get Gallo in some of those, because I know he strikes out a ton, but he's got power against lefties still. So try to get Gallo in there. But if I were just doing one Yankee stack with Garcia or Anderson at pitcher, I would say these are the 4 guys I would focus on there. Let's talk to, you also asked about the Brewers. Sorry about that. DJ, I missed that Brewers part. Facing Miles Mikolas. I think that's fine. Again, the batted ball data on Mikolas has been better recently since he's been able to use a slider again. So that's why I'm not there. But the Brewers definitely do work. It depends on who plays. I do like Omar Narvaez in general versus righties. So I'd probably include him in a stack. I don't need the salary savings, but I still would be inclined to go there. I want Eduardo Escobar from using one of these lower salary pitchers because Escobar has some power. Adames, undersalaried. Let's check out Yelich, his recent batted ball data. I haven't used a lot of Yelich, so let's see what he's been doing here recently. See if I can get myself bought back in on a former MVP. Let's go to StatCast, and let's do from September 1st on. All right, so September 1st on for Yelich. Negative 2.3 degree launch angle. That's not great. One barrel. That's rough. ISO here for Yelich is 0.46. So I would skip over Yelich. I would say Esky, get him in there. I want Narvaez in there. I want Adames in there. That's probably the main three for me. And then Vogelbach. Vogelbach's been hitting the ball pretty hard recently. So I would say those are the four I'd be turning to for a Brewer stack. Braves against righty. Yeah. Depends if you need the salary savings, because like the Braves have guys in kind of every tier. So that's the way that breaks. I would say, though, if we're looking at the Braves in terms of like the non-conventional line of thinking here, because Soler hits higher in the order, I feel like he tends to be more heavily rostered than Duvall. I would use Duvall over Soler, despite the fact he's batting lower in the order. Let's talk to Jerry. Milwaukee 24, New York 245, Atlanta 234. Got to have the salary for them. Okay, so the Milwaukee lineup not out yet. I guess that's probably looking at Yelich. If you're looking at the two-hole batter, I would try to get off Yelich personally, because again, I like Escobar more, like Narvaez more, and then Adames as well. Atlanta 234. So we're looking at the primary guys there with Riley in there, and then the Yankees 245. Yankees, that'd be Voit, Stanton, and who was the 5-hole batter for today? Gallo. I would try to reconfigure that, Jerry, to try to get to Judge over Gallo. Again, I know I mentioned Gallo as being a guy I like, but I'd try to get to Judge. If I had just one lineup, I'd try to get to Judge there. Kyle, try to stack Houston with Philadelphia. Who do you prefer as a 4-player stack between the two? So Houston, let's check them out here. Houston is facing Jansen Junk. I like both, Kyle. I think they're both awesome. So give me both if you can. If I had to choose one, should probably go with the Astros because the Phillies have been so rough. Like if it's a 1-to-1 comparison where you don't care too much about which guy it is, which guy who's in there, I would say try to get to the Astros. Like if you've got the salary to get them, they are the preferred option. It's not really, that's not the way things work, obviously, but actually I guess it probably is with Harper being up there. McCutcheon's not low salaried. So, I would say Astros over the Phillies. That is a change for me between how I viewed things this morning. I do think that I bumped up the Astros, bumped down the Phillies a tiny bit just because the salaries are kind of high outside of Galvis. Okay, so Fear Money Entertainment is saying the Brewers lineup is out. So the source I'm using doesn't have it. They're delayed, so this is not a shock. This has definitely happened before where I've refreshed that and it's not been out. So let's pull up here on my other computer and see what the Brewers lineup is. Okay, Colton Wong, Eduardo Escobar, Christian Yelich, VCL Garcia, Omar Narvaez, Luis Arias, Jace Peterson's at first base. Okay, Lorenzo Cain. So based on that lineup for the Brewers, I would say Escobar, Narvaez. I don't mind Jace Peterson, super low salaried. He's got some pop. And then deciding between Garcia and Luis Arias, it depends on what you need from a salary perspective. So if you need to save some salary, I don't mind Arias. He's very good against righties too. VCL Garcia versus righties, 222 ISO. So you have the salary to get up to Garcia. I would go for it. If not, Arias is fine. So Escobar, Narvaez, Peterson, all guys I think that are going to grade out well relative to salary. If you've got the ability to get to Garcia, I prefer him over Arias, but they're both in play for me for today. Let's talk to Jerry. My favorite stacks today are Houston, San Diego, Philadelphia, Atlanta. How would you rate those? I love Houston. I love Philadelphia. Think Atlanta's pretty solid. Rank them 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the Padres are in play too against Scott Casimir. The reason I was not as high on them personally is because they're just not powerful against lefties. I mean, obviously Tatis is, but like as a team, they're not great against lefties. A 148 ISO, a 34% fly ball rate. That's a bummer. So I would rank San Diego lowest of that group. They're not out of play because Casimir is a guy who I honestly don't know how to read right now. So it could be great. It could suck, but that's fine. We can take that volatility in DFS. So I would say San Diego last on that list, not totally out of play. The reasoning they're lower is because of the lack of power. So to me, ranking those, Houston 1, Philadelphia 2, And then Atlanta 3, San Diego 4. I know William just asked about San Diego as well. Good timing on you on your part, William, there. Again, I think they're in play. Just not a lot of power there. That's kind of the one downside for them. Let's put the Padres here and check out their expected lineup. So Tatis, Machado, both those guys can the lefties. Myers can as well. Pham can to an extent. He weirdly has some he has less power than you'd expect for a left or a righty versus lefty. So Fear Money says we can only roster 4 Brewers. You named 6, but I get it. I'm listing dudes you can use. Obviously, you can't use all 6 in the same lineup. It's fairly obvious. I'm listing out dudes you can use. The primary ones I would say for the Brewers, if we're going to list out a top 4, Escobar, let's put him at second base. No Adames for today, which is annoying. But let's go with Narvaez. Let's put Jace Peterson in here in the outfields at minimum salary. And then you're deciding between Avisail Garcia and Luis Urias. I think I'll be able to get to this with Wheeler, despite the fact that Escobar is pretty high salary just because the other guys are so low. Let's put Wheeler in there. If we do that, $32.50, definitely the salary to get to Garcia there. So I would say Garcia over Urias if you're willing to go with Narvaez and Peterson. Personally, I am. I think that's totally fine. So that's the stack I'll be looking at there for the Brewers for today. Trying to remember if there's anything else we have not talked about as far as stacking options for me. Do like the Yankees. Didn't talk a lot about them, but I do think they're a pretty good option versus Taylor Hearn. I really like the Giants. We talked about them early on. Haven't talked about them since, but I really like them. I think they're number 2. I'm going to put Houston 1, Giants 2, Phillies 3, and then going on from there. I think that'd be my ranking for Yankees 4 for me today. So really high in the Giants, and I think that they are a high-quality team that I'd like to get to as often as I can. That is all that we have here for today on the FanDuel Live Q&A. As a reminder, we are back here once again with the usual schedule for tomorrow. Brandon Gadula has your Thursday night football preview starting off at 4 p.m., breaking down the Texans and the Panthers. I'll be on at 4:30 to talk MLB DFS for the Thursday slate. Kind of a funky slate for tomorrow. I'm assuming a 4-game main slate. We'll see if this is how the slates are actually broken down, but kind of a funky distribution for tomorrow. So check out Brandon at 4 o'clock to get his thoughts on that. We'll talk MLB at 4:30. Make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages to get notifications as we go live each and every day. If you've got more questions for me, I am on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JimSannes. Big thank you to Joy Affleck, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Joy, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you tonight. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow. This has been the FanDuel Live Q&A.